Hello, this is Ms. DB, and today we are going to learn about frequency and histograms and stem and leaf plots. We will create stem and leaf plots and frequency tables and histograms. So first we'll talk about stem and leaf plots. They are a way to arrange data by dividing each data value into two parts. So we'll divide each data value into a stem and into a leaf. The last digit is called the leaf, and the remaining digits, the first one or two or even three digits, are called the stem. When we do a stem and leaf plot, we have to have a key because that tells us how to read each value. Like this key would say that 2, 3 means 23. So here's an example. The numbers of defective widgets in batches of 1,000 are given below. Use the data to make a stem and leaf plot. So here's all of the defective widgets. So the tens digits are going to be our stems. And if you look through, we need 10 digits of 1, 0, because 8 could be 0, 8, and 2, because we have a number in the 20s, and another number in the 20s. So we're going to need tens digits of 0, 1, and 2. In order to do the leaves, what we'll do is we will go through and write, let's make a line here. We'll write our stems of 0, 1, and 2 first, and then for the leaves, we'll go through and find all of the ones that go with 0, and then we have to write them in order too. So we have 0, 8, 9, 9, and 8. So 8, 8, 9, 9 in order. So that's what we write, 8, 8, 9, 9. You can either put a space between each one, or if you want, you could put a comma between each one. So I used up those 4 digits so far. Now let's look for all of those with a stem of 1. There's going to be a lot of those. So we have 14, 12, 13, 15, 13, and 19. Now we have to have them in order, so it might help to make a little list off to the side of those digits in order. So there's the 12, there's the 13, there's another 13, I need a 14, a 15, and a 19. So now they're in order, so now I know for the leaves I'm just going to put the second part, the 2, the ones digit. So I need a 2, a 3, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 9. Okay, I got all of those. Now I need the ones that have a 2 for a stem. So those in the 20s. So there's a 20, so I put a 0 for 20 and a 21. There, that's your whole stem and leaf. The last things to do is to add a title and a key. So I'm going to erase mine. They match theirs, but it just makes it hard to read. Now I need a title, like something that describes what this is. This is number of defective widgets per batch, and a key. For the key, you can pick any of your values to make your key with. They picked 19. They used 1 and then that straight up and down line, which you can use on your keyboard right above the enter key, shift, and then the backslash. So 1 line 9 means 19. That's a key. But you could have used something else, like 1 line 2 means 12 or something like that. So that's a stem and leaf. And looking at a stem and leaf graph, you can answer questions like, what was the smallest number of defective widgets? And you could look at that and real quick say 8. And the largest would have been 21. And the stem with the most leaves is the tens row, which means that most of the number of defective widgets per batch were between 10 and 19. Okay, this is another example. This one has more data, and we're going to make a back-to-back stem and leaf plot. So our stems will go in the middle, and the leaves for team A will go on the left, and the leaves for team B will go on the right. So we'll need 2 rows, 2 columns, and let's call this team A over here. Actually, let me see if they did team, yep, they did team A there, and team B will go over here. And then in the middle will go our stems. So let's see, we need 6, 4, 5, So 4, 5, 6. Do we need anything smaller than 4? Do we have any numbers in the 30s? Oh, we have to have a 7 as well. Oh, there's a 30. I don't see anything in the 80s or less than 30. So our leaves will be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you do these in a row or in order. And we usually put the smallest numbers closer to the leaves and then go out. So for team A, is there anything in the 30s? No. It does have numbers in the 40s though. So let's look at what we have in the 40s. We have a 42, a 49, a 42, a 45. So the lowest of those is 42 and there's 2 of them. So you put 2 2s here going away from the stem. And then we need the 45, so the 5 goes here, and then the 9. Now, if you want, you can do Team B's. Oops, and I wrote those by the 3s, and they're supposed to go by the 4s, so I have to erase that row. There's no 30s in this one, so you don't put anything for that, for the leaves there. Now I'm going to do the rest of Team A's. So any 50s, 56, 58, 55. So that's a 5 for the 55, a 6, and an 8. Okay, next we'll do our 60s. There's a 65 and a 61. So a 1 and a 5. And finally, all that's left is 72. We need a 2 for that. Okay, so Team A is all done. Now we move over and do Team B. And you would do Team B the same way. Going through, there is a 7, so that's the 37. And then you do your 40s and your 50s and your 60s and so on. When you get done, it's going to look like this, with the stems in the middle, the leaves for Team A on the left, and the leaves for Team B on the right. And then you add a nice title, and you add a key. And you can pick any number out of there for a key. They did 2 parts to the key to show that there's numbers on the left and on the right. Okay, next we're going to talk about frequency. The frequency of a data value is the number of times it occurs. So frequency is the number of times something occurs. A frequency table shows the frequency of each data value. So frequency tables are used quite a bit, and they're very important. If the data is divided into intervals, the table shows the frequency of each interval. So you can have frequency just by each number, or you can have frequency by an interval. Here is the number of students enrolled in a Western civilization class at a university, and we're going to use this data to make a frequency table with intervals. So sometimes you get to pick the intervals to use, and sometimes the intervals are picked for you. If you're going to pick your own interval, here are some keys that can help you do that. First, identify the least and greatest values. In this one, 9 is the least, and the greatest value is 32. So if we go back and look at this data and divide it into equal amounts, like if we could divide it into every 2, so we could do 9 to 10. That would have the values of 9 and 10 in it. Or we could do 9 to 11. That has 3 digits in it, 9, 10, and 11. Or we could do 9 to 12. If we do 9 to 12, that's 4 digits, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Then we would do 13, 14, 15, 16 in the next interval. So these numbers are not the same. The end of one is different than the beginning of the next. And then you could do 17 to 17, 18, 19, 20. So that's how you would, something like that, to do your intervals. They decided to use an interval of 10. So when you do your intervals, you put those in the first column, then you count the number of data values in each interval, and you list the count in the last column. Give the table a title. So let's go back with it so we can look at the data and do this. They decided to make their intervals in tens. So they would have did they go 1 to 10 or 1 to 9? Yeah, they did 1 to 10. So 1 to 10, and then 11 to 20, and then 21 to 30, and then 31 to 40. So that's going to be our first column. And then really over here, all we have to do is count how many are in each of those intervals. So from 1 to 10 there is 1, just 1. From 11 to 20 there is 1, 2, 3, 4. So you put 4 here. If you have a lot of data, you might put tally marks here and then add another column with the sum of your tally marks. From 21 to 30, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And from 31 to 40, we have 1, 2. So here's our interval, and here is our frequency. That's a frequency table with intervals. Now, if you use different intervals, you'll have different frequencies for those intervals. Here's another example. It says use a frequency table with intervals. Now in this one, I wouldn't go by tens because the highest number looks like it's 15. So the least is 4, the greatest is 15. So a good interval might be, they said an interval of 3. So let's make our interval, our frequency table over here. So here's our interval, and then we'll have our frequency in the second column. I'm abbreviating so I'll have room. Oops. So we will have an interval of 1 to 3. Oh, they start at 4 to 6 because there would be none from 1 to 3. And then 4 to 6, and then 7 to 9, and then 10 to 12. How far do we have to go? Up to 15. And 13 to 15. So 1 to 3 isn't going to have any. 4 to 6 will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 to 9 will have 1, 2, 3, 4. 10 to 12 will have 1, 2, 3, 4. And 13 to 15 has 1, 2. So we've counted all of them. We've got our frequency table complete. You wouldn't need the first row because there was a 0 there. And then give it a title, and that's really all you have to do. Now we can use frequency tables to make a histogram. A histogram is a bar graph used to display the frequency of data. The vertical axis on a histogram is always frequency. The bars are of equal width and they have to touch. If there is a frequency of 0, then you just leave a space there. So we're going to use the frequency table in the example we already did to make a histogram. So here's our frequency table. And we're going to make a bar for each number in each interval. So the bars will go, I want this to be on the same page. So our first one, our frequency, or our interval of 1 to 10 is 1. Let me just take a quick picture of this. So I have it. So now that we have our frequency chart, we can make a histogram. And our histogram will match our frequency chart. The frequency is always along the vertical axis. Along the bottom is our intervals. And our frequency is 1 at the interval of 1 to 10, so our bar goes up 1. It is a frequency of 4 from 11 to 20, so we went up 4. These are just rectangles. You can make them different colors. You can fill them in or not. And the 21 to 30 interval had a frequency of 5, and the 31 to 40 has a frequency of 2. So that's a histogram. Cumulative frequency shows the frequency of data values less than or equal to a given value. So you can just keep count as you go. If your data set has many values, you might lose track, and then it's nice to have a column in your frequency table to do that. So here's an example. If you have a bunch of weights, you can make a frequency table. You can decide on your intervals, just like before. Look at the lowest and highest in order to help you do that. Then you record the frequencies, and then finally you put your frequencies in there. So they decided to use an interval of 3, and their lowest one was 18. So they went from 18 to 20, and then from 21 to 23, 24 to 26, and 27 to 29. The frequencies of those have already been added, 6, 2, 5, and 3. Now the cumulative frequency of the first interval will be equal to this, same exact number. Then you add 6 plus 2 to get to this one. Then you add 8 plus 5 to get to this one. And then you add 13 plus 3 to get to the final. So each time you're adding on and you get your cumulative frequency. And theirs looks a little bit nicer. So you take the frequency, the cumulative frequency plus what your next interval frequency is, add it, and keep going. Put a title on, and that's it. Then you can answer questions about this, like how many packages weigh less than 24 ounces? And you could say, well, all of them, because they are all in the same, none of them are, oh here, right here, these are the ones less than 24. And then you can real quickly say there's 8 that are less than 24 ounces, rather than having to add them up. Okay, so that's it. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you the worksheet now to show you how to do some of the things in Word. So your worksheet for this lesson, you're going to do the stem and leaf plot first. So when you look at number 1, these are the rushing yards. You have to decide what stems do you need and put them over here, and then what leaves do you need and put them here. So for stems, our lowest is we have a 32 here. So we'll need stems from 3 up to where? 5, 6, there's a 98. So it looks like all the way up to 9. And then your leaves are going to go over here. Now remember to put them in order. So for the stem of 3, we only need the number 32 here. So there's just one leaf of 2. And then for the stem 4, we need 43 and 48. And any more 4s? So then you would put the 3 and then a space and then the 8, or you can separate them with a comma if you want. And you'll keep going. If there's any stems that don't have a number, you just leave it blank for the leaves. 50, 60, 70, 80. There'll be something for each of them. And then we need a title. Don't forget to add a good title. So our title might be, I'm just going to write it down here, might be number of rushing yards. You can change that a little bit if you want. And then the key might be like, I'll use one number I already have, 4, and then if I do shift and then the backslash right above the enter key, I get that straight up and down line. So I'll do 43 means 43. That's my key. Or you could do some other number that is in your data. So you'll have to finish that up. Then you go down to, this is a double stem and leaf here. So there's the stems are in the middle, and then the keys for period 5 are on the left, and the keys for period 3 are on the right. And then you're going to answer some questions about that, back to back or a double stem and leaf. All right, in this one we're going to do a frequency table. So they've already picked the intervals for us. We're going to go from 0 to 3, 4 to 7, 8 to 11, and so on. There's 4 numbers in each one. So you just have to go over here and count all the times that you see a number between 0 and 3 and count them. Here, I'll highlight them. There's 1, 2, there's 1, and there's 1. And however many you have, that's what your frequency will be. Now for cumulative frequency, our first row will be exactly the same as what you put for frequency. So I got 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I counted, if I marked all those. So our cumulative frequency will also be 6 for the first one. But that will change now that I do the 5 through 7 ones. So there's 5, 6, here's a 4, that's between 4 and 7. Any more? I think I got them all. I think there's just 3. So now the cumulative frequency would be 9 because 6 plus 3 equals 9. You don't have to do the cumulative frequency table column right now if you want. It's actually for number 6 on that worksheet, or you can do it now. Now the next part is to make a histogram. We're going to use the frequency table from exercise 3 to make a histogram. So our histogram is going to, let me get this so I can see them both at the same time. Our histogram says that for the frequency of 0 to 3, I need a column of 6. So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to Insert, Shapes, and I'm going to get a rectangle, which you can get from right here. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle from here to here that goes up to 6. And that's about it. Now for my next rectangle, my frequency from 4 to 7 is only 3. So you can use the same color rectangle, or you can get a different, fill it with a different color if you want. And did I grab it? Did it work? And this one's only going to go from up to 3. Now these bars should be touching and not overlapping. If you want to change the color, you go up here and you can change it to whatever color you want, but you don't have to. And you'll keep going all the way across. They should be the same width. It looks like my first one's a little skinnier, but that's okay. And then down here, you're supposed to add the intervals that would match each one. That's a little bit trickier to do in here. I'm just going to add a text box and go all the way across. So my first one is 0 to 3. And my second one was 4 to 6, right? Or was it 4 to 7? Nope, 4 to 7. And then the next one is whatever it is. So you can just label those that way. Okay? And then the last problem, oh, and then there's a question number 5 that says which intervals have the same frequency, whichever ones have the same height, then you'll know they have the same frequency. And then the number 6 says just to go back and finish this cumulative frequency if you didn't already. And that's it on the worksheet. So if you have any questions, let me know, or any problems. You can also, of course, print this and do it by hand and then scan your work in for your graphs. If you do that, make it sure you use a straight line, straight edge to do your bars for your histogram. Thanks a lot and have a wonderful day.